The Mavericks cut ties with Rick Carlisle, who's taking his talents back to Naptown to coach the Pacers. Now, could Jason Kidd be taking his talents back to Dallas? Well, Carlisle co-signed, giving a ringing endorsement to his former player in Dallas. Jason Kidd as the right man to lead their superstar Luka Doncic and take a young, talented squad to the next level. Kidd was serving as an assistant with the Lakers the past few years. Now, the Mavericks apparently are not done yet, as our Tim McMahon is reporting that Dallas has been in talks with Nike executive Nico Harrison to join the front office. Max?
Yeah.
Is Jason Kidd a step forwards?
No, I don't think so. I think that they had a good coach, and Jason Kidd has not shown to be that based on the record, Stephen A. I think we have to be fair. And we like Jason Kidd as a player and was one of the all-time greats, but look at his coaching record. He had brief success at one point with the Bucks. He instituted a new kind of a defense, which the league then figured out and he never really got away from it. And they went from a good defensive team for 1 year when Kidd tried something new to one of the worst or one of the lesser, like bottom third defensive team the following 3 seasons before he was eventually fired. So, and you look at his situation with the Nets, he tried to take over basketball operations, at least that was what was stated at the time, and they got rid of him because they saw it as like a power grab. If his head coaching record, lifetime, is below 500, that doesn't mean he can never be a good or successful NBA head coach. But if you want to compare him to a good coach with a winning record and then say, is this a step forward or backward? I have to say it's backward.
I respectfully disagree. And I would tell you that it's a delicate conversation for me because, again, I've gone back many, many years with Rick Carlisle. I know him very well. He's a friend, and I respect the hell out of him, and he's a champion as a coach, and I think the man knows what the hell he's doing, and I'm very, very happy that he's got the job in Indy. I would tell you this. Since they won the championship in Dallas, however, the last 10 years, they've gone to the playoffs 6 times. They missed the playoffs 4 times. Of the 6 times they made the playoffs, they went home in the first round every single time. So for the last decade, you haven't been to the first round. There does come a point in time where every organization, it's not about your skills, it's not about your knowledge, it's not about your abilities. It's about whether or not there's the need for a new voice. And that's what this is, which is why I support Jason Kidd getting this job. Let's understand something here. Today's player wants a coach that they have a relationship with, wants a coach they feel that they can trust and that they can vibe with. Now, I don't think with Rick Carlisle there's any issue of trust, but in terms of having the kind of coach that you can vibe with on a personal level, clearly something was missing there. We saw the problems with Luka. Luka was leading the league in technical fouls. Luka was speaking out against the team. Luka was a bit truculent at times. People called him immature. Mike Wilbon and others have highlighted that reality. Mark Cuban has come to his defense, no doubt. But the bottom line is it took Mark Cuban coming to his defense because that was a belief that was growing to the point where even when I interviewed Luka Doncic, he acknowledged that there were people that were feeling that way about him and there were changes and modifications that he needed to make. So when we understand that, now we get to Jason Kidd. In Brooklyn, he actually did a good job, got to the semifinals his first year there, the only year there. But alienated some folks. They thought it was somewhat of a power grab. He had to go out there. Same thing with Milwaukee. Took him to the playoffs 2 times in his 3.5 years coaching that team. Developed Giannis, inherited Giannis, and developed him. The biggest thing that they say about Jason Kidd and the staffs that he has assembled is that they're incredibly big on player development, which is why the belief was the Los Angeles Lakers wanted him, but they didn't feel comfortable hiring him because of the checkered past stuff, first with domestic violence in the year 2000, 21 years ago, and then with the DUI in 2012. The bottom line is this. Man is happily married, hasn't been in any incidences whatsoever. He's been an assistant coach. Everybody knows he knows what he's talking about and he's doing. And in the case of the Dallas Mavericks, I'm told he wouldn't be the coach there if it were not for Dirk Nowitzki, who was just brought on as a consultant. His former coach that he won a championship for, Rick Carlisle, spoke up for him. Dirk Nowitzki spoke up for him. And Luka signed off and endorsed it. If it wasn't for Luka and Dirk Nowitzki, he wouldn't be the head coach in Dallas. That's an organization that's saying we're moving in a different direction. We tried it this way. Our time is up. Now it's time for us to move forward. That's the intel that I received, Max, and I buy it.
Yeah, look, I think it's a good point that sometimes, even if a coach is excellent, you need a new voice. I accept that. The question is Jason Kidd the right choice? In the positive ledger, you're right. He did excellent developmental work with the Greek Freak in Milwaukee. And he is a point guard who won a championship in Dallas and a Hall of Famer, obviously with a good relationship with the greatest player in franchise history. And now he has the endorsement of the guy who's probably going to go down as replacing Dirk as the greatest player in franchise history. So those are all in the plus column, right? I'm looking at his head coaching record. In Brooklyn, 44-38. It's not setting the world on fire, but it's a nice job.
That's his first year.
Yep, first year. And then got fired in a power grab. When you talk about trust, you know, the powers that be did not feel that he was trustworthy. Then in Milwaukee, he goes 500, then 33-49, then 42-40, and then 23-22. This is not, you may be right that he's developing players, because at the time, Brogdon was the rookie of the year, and Giannis had come along. But it's not like he had 10 years to do it, but it's not like he had a year either. It never translated to dominance on the court. And as I pointed out earlier, it was the stubbornness about his defensive scheme that only worked briefly, and then what really had them as one of the lesser defensive teams in the league.
That's actually not true. I'm not saying that part is not true, meaning that didn't happen. I mean, but that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that there was not cohesiveness and trust between him and management, because he felt different decisions should have been made. In this particular instance, we all know that Luka's the man in Dallas. We all know what kind of cachet Dirk Nowitzki has, and we all know that Jason Kidd has a personal relationship with both Mark Cuban and Dirk Nowitzki, and the former coach literally walked out the door endorsing him for that job, because how can you not respect Rick Carlisle? And so the combination of all of those things, I think, lends itself towards the concerns that you had in Brooklyn and Milwaukee not being a concern in Dallas, not to mention the fact that he can't afford for something like that to happen again, because if it happens again in Dallas, he'll never get another head coaching job. And he knows that.
Put it this way. He has not disqualified himself with his coaching from ever getting another head coaching job. I agree with that. I think you argued that persuasively, the case for him. I'll say this. If it were me and it was my team, I wouldn't want Jason Kidd as the head coach.
I would, because Luka's my guy. And I know that when it comes to point guards, there are very, very few people more qualified to coach and tutor a point guard than Jason Kidd.
That is true.
We'll leave it on that note. The Mavs haven't been out of the first round since they won the championship. That was in 2011, 10 years ago. Guys, with the Olympics approaching, Max Kellerman with a shocking take on Team USA. He says a gold